Good Friday Eve to you, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Houston Roundball Review TAKEOVER, powered by JM&E. I am KG Chris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. You can watch this show on YouTube, Twitch, Musk, Fire TV, and Roku, courtesy of BS3 TV. If you have a Roku streaming device, just download BS3 TV. If you don't have that, you can go to BS3Network.com or BS3TVLive.com. Going to be a fast paced 55 minutes and change. And then I'm going to get ready for the TCU Houston Cougars game, quarterfinal matchup in the Big 12 men's hoops. And then after that, of course, we'll have Let's Rage Cougs here on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, on Pause Slamma Jamma YouTube, and Pause Slamma Jamma on Musk. Let's get the good news out of the way. Congrats to the Rice Owls women's basketball team for becoming the champions, winning 4 games in 4 days, and becoming the 2024 American Athletic Conference women's basketball champs. They punched their ticket to the NCAA Tournament. 4 games in 4 days, 4 wins, 4 days. They ended the regular season, well, conference season, on a 5-game losing streak. But they turned things around and won 4 straight to win the AAC Women's Championship. Mr. Tran, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us. Miss Wanda, how are you doing? Oh, Rex, how you doing? Ron is right. Ron is right. Yep. I'm going here with Tran as well. Let Ron go. Let me say this, as folks are joining in, trickling in, and that's fine, no problem here as you're watching on Facebook and YouTube and the social media platforms. Some info. For the 4th time in program history, the Rice women's basketball team is headed back to the NCAA tournament after defeating reigning champion, 9th-seeded East Carolina 61-41 in the AAC championship game Wednesday night at Dickies Arena. Rice was the 10th seed. 4 straight games, 4 games, 4 nights. Won them all. Headed to the dance. Rice earned its first NCAA tournament appearance since the 2018-2019 season. Malia Fisher was named the MVP of the tournament, while her teammates Destiny Jackson and Susie Ungalafak were all named to the all-tournament team along with Malia Fisher. Here, Rice earned its first NCAA tournament appearance since the 2018-19 season. That means this trip will be their second since 2018-19 season. 2 different head coaches. 18-19 was Coach Tina Langley. This year, Coach Lindsay Edmonds. Meanwhile, my beloved alma mater, head coached by the same person for 10 seasons and 0 trips to the NCAA tournament. 10 seasons, Ronald Hughey, 0 trips to the NCAA tournament. Let's look at the record. In 10 seasons, Coach Hughey is 135 and 170. 0 NCAA tournament appearances. Look at those records. This year, 14 and 16. Look at the average attendance at home. This year, high watermark. That looks stellar. 1,380. Last season, 775. Went 15 and 16. The 21-22 season, home attendance averaged 368. 2021, 17 and 8. Home attendance averaged 268. I can go on, and I will. 1920, a losing record, 12-19, but 1,279 average. I think UConn was still in the conference then, probably. 18-19 season, 15-16 record, 977 average. 2018, I think that was over at TSU. 2012, average attendance, 851. 2016-2017 season, 12-19. Average home attendance, 717. In the last two, his first 2 years at Houston, both times 6-24. Average attendance in the 2015-16 season, 643. His first season, 2014-2015, average 428. AD, Vice President of Athletics, blah, 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 AD Chris Pezman, had a quote in a press release congratulating Dwana Chiser, who was named the Administrator of the Year by the WBCA, the Women's Basketball Coaches Association, named Dwana Chiser Administrator of the Year. And part of the quote from Chris Pezman was the great job she has done growing the game of women's college basketball. 428, 643, 717, 851, 977, 1279, 268, 368, 775, and this year 1380. That's growing the game of women's college basketball? And of course, a losing record. One more time. 135 and 170 in 10 seasons under Ronald Hughey. Coach Chires has been there Ronald Chires has been there the whole time at Houston. The last time Houston made the NCAA tournament was the 2010-2011 season. That was before Chris Pezman became AD. He became AD December 2017. You know who was there way back when, 2011? Dwana Chiser as senior women's administrator. She's been growing the game of women's college basketball so long, apparently, she forgot about her own alma mater and doesn't care about the success or lack thereof at Houston Cougars women's basketball. Ms. Wanda, I believe you are correct. I believe they will bring Coach Hughey back for an 11th season. Why? What is the justification of this? Except beyond the fact that Houston does not want to spend the money to pay him and his staff off and bring in a new staff. What other justification is there? It's not attendance. No one comes to the games. There's the Big 12 now, and we're going at it. Trans brought it up. He's referenced a few of his comments here on the YouTube channel at Houston Roundball Review. But listen to these words. Watch and listen to these words from Coach Ronald Hughey after their first round loss to Texas Tech last Thursday of the Big 12 Women's Basketball Championship. Listen to this.
First of all, I'd just like to thank our seniors in our group just for, a great year for us. Again, coming into the Big 12, which is the best conference in the country, we had an opportunity to get some quality wins. We got 5 conference wins and had a chance to play some really grueling, tough games. I know some teams around the country that went into different conferences and didn't even win a game. So again, for us to come in and compete.
Let me stop right there. He knows some teams. First, it was a great year. They finished under 500. They only won 5 times in the Big 12. He knows some teams in new conferences, first year new conference, didn't win any games. Well, I know one that did. The Rice Owls. They won so many games, they won their conference championship. And they're going to the NCAA Tournament, Coach Hughey, which you haven't been to yet in your 10 years at Houston. More from Coach Hughey.
Like the way we did, and really proud of our group for being able to do that. I thought Texas Tech came in after losing those kids and having that losing streak and decided they were going to really fight everything they had to be able to win this game. And I thought they had good energy to be able to do that. I thought we were inconsistent in our energy and being able to do that, and just too many breakdowns to give up those big threes. I think if you control those threes off of those ball screen actions, we have an opportunity to win this game. But again, hats off to them. They came in and competed and did what they need to do to win the game.
Coach, you mentioned this being your first year in the Big 12. What are you going to take just from this year to apply to next year?
You know, the first thing that we started meeting just about the things we need to do. The one thing about the Big 12 is just having opportunities to have Big 12 players. You know, you have to really get down and come up with a decisive plan on recruiting and get the opportunity to have the kids that can be able to compete at this level. You can go out and get players and try to scheme all you want to. But if you don't have the right players on the floor to be able to create plays, because again, at the end of the day, we all know each other plays. Come down to players making plays. The other thing is having an opportunity to really dissect everybody's system. The one thing about all the Big 12 schools, original schools, they all knew each other. So they all knew what they were going to face, that kind of stuff. We all came in and had to try to figure out that, you know, watching from film, and, you know, you can go through all the film you want to until you're in the action, then you know. And so again, now we know what each opportunity comes with each program. And now we know how, you know, just give you some example, Kansas playing through their high-low, Iowa State playing through their pack line, Texas playing through their post players. So now you have opportunity to know what you're going through. It's like what we did in American. You know, we had opportunity to be there, fight our way up through the top, and had opportunity to play in the championship game last year. But again, we knew those programs. And so that's the one thing about this Big 12 opportunity we have this year. We had opportunity to learn a lot. And so again, but it started with the players and have an opportunity to recruit those great players to be a part of the program.
Say what? Coach Hughey has said publicly that current roster has 2 or 3 Big 12 players. He's the head coach. He's in charge of recruiting. He coached at Texas. He was on the staff at Texas. So he's coached in the Big 12 before. But he didn't realize he needed to get Big 12 players. He had 2 years to get Big 12 players. Houston joined the Big 12, didn't happen yesterday. Rice went from Conference USA to the American. First year in the American, Rice won the conference championship. Coach Hughey's there 9 years. Made the championship game once and lost to East Carolina last year. And speaking of East Carolina last year, I'm bringing receipts today, y'all. I'm bringing receipts. Will knows with a comment, candid comment. He's admitting he was totally unprepared. Rex 32 sounds like somebody we know. Football head coach who's no longer here. H-Time McDonald feels confident. I don't know, brother. I got a text about 45 minutes ago that makes me shake my head that he has more years on his contract than I thought. I thought he had 1. This person told me he has 2. I'm trying to get that confirmed. But either way, the buyout is not huge if you care about women's basketball. Coach Hughey and his staff, he's not making $1 million a year. He's probably not making $500,000 a year. But go back to it. This clip is famous now, either on this channel or Folks Talking Sports, this show or Folks Talking Sports. This is from last year after losing in the AAC championship game to East Carolina. Will knows, loves it. He's heard it before, but the first few words of this from Coach Hughey. Let's listen to this.
We got a bunch of emails from, you know, other tournaments and things like that, but, you know, it's time to set a standard for NCAAs around here, you know, and that's
It's time to set a standard for NCAAs around here. That was last year. They're not going to the NCAA this year. 10 seasons in, 0 trips to the NCAA tournament. 0. Lindsay Edmonds at Rice, in her 3rd season as head coach at Rice, is going to the NCAA tournament. Her 3rd year. 1st year in a new conference. Guided her team to 4 wins in 4 days. And again, kudos and congrats to Coach Edmonds, her coaching staff, the entire staff, and her players for getting it done and going dancing. You'll find out Selection Sunday, March 17th, what is it, I think 7 o'clock Central Time, where they're going. I think they'll be going to Austin in the Longhorns bracket. Pod. The Longhorns won the Big 12 Conference Championship, led by freshman Madison Booker, who's not only a freshman, one of the best players in the country, and she just happens to be a freshman. Longhorns beat Texas. Longhorns beat Iowa State. Iowa State led by 2 freshmen. One of them, Audie Crooks. Audie's built like Courtney Paris. Freshman. As long as NIL doesn't get in the way, she'll be at Iowa State and causing problems in the Big 12 for 3 more years. Houston. Arizona's joined the conference in July. Utah is joining the conference in July. Colorado is joining the conference in July. Those programs are already better than the Houston Cougars women's basketball program. Already. And here's an example. Let me see if I can pull it up and put it more in black and white. Let's see here. Got a lot of slides and info. Here are the net rankings for the Big 12 women's basketball teams as of March 13th. Dead last. Houston at 100. And there's a gap of 8 points between next to last and last. UCF head coach told me after the game here in Houston on senior day, she's bringing in a 6'8" post player. To compete against the other post players in the Big 12. Houston doesn't have that. One more time. Houston women's basketball in the net rankings, dead last. 10 years. And this is what Houston has. 10 years. But the standard is getting to the NCAA. The man said that himself. The standard is getting to the NCAA. He said that last year. They're not going this year. They finished under 500 this year. I say all of this, all of it, because yes, I did, and I do expect him to be back next season. I've had different folks tell me, no, he's gone. He's gone. Some of those folks told me that same thing last year, and he came back. His buyout is not, it's not my money. Okay, I'm struggling to get by as it is. Advertising is truly needed here on this show, on this platform. But in terms of you claim to be big time athletics, a buyout for Ronald Hughey and his staff is a drop in the bucket. A drop in the bucket. I'm going to get back to the Cougs women's basketball. Definitely going to talk about UH men's basketball in these moments here on this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover, powered by JM&E, streaming live on Roku via BS3 Network. Once again, I'm wearing the shirt repping the family, wearing the BS3 shirt. Last Thursday, HCU announced that they were moving on from head coach. I love how it's phrased now. A lot of programs are parting ways with their coaches. Coach Ron Cottrell, who's head coach and AD at Houston Christian for a long time. He was there a long time. Here's a quote from the AD, Steve Maniaci, last Thursday. Houston Christian University, its athletes, friends, and followers will be forever grateful for the career that Coach Cottrell has had here. He has impacted the lives of countless athletes in his role, not just as a basketball coach, but also as longtime athletic director for the past 34 years. We are truly indebted to him for his service, and we wish him and his family nothing but the best. He and they will always be a part of the fabric of HCU athletics. I reached out to Steve Maniaci. It's going to be a theme here next few moments. I reached out to Steve Maniaci to get his quote, comment on what he's looking for in the next head coach. That's what he said to me. We're looking first and foremost, as we always do, for someone who is a good mission fit for the university. Then we'll look for someone with a lot of energy who sees what we have to offer as an advantage as opposed to seeing all of the disadvantages. If they have had head coaching experience and all else is equal, that would be a selling point. I'll follow up with him and ask him, do you have a timetable to make the hire? His response was ASAP. You know how soon ASAP is, apparently? Monday, March 18th. Supposedly there's going to be a press conference Monday, March 18th, announcing the new head coach. And apparently, reportedly, it's going to be Craig Doty, who has coached at Emporia State. So it's already done. They parted ways with Coach Cottrell because, clearly they had somebody already in mind. Next. What are they talking about Houston here? Women's basketball alumni saying and doing. They're doing very little. Big Dobbs. They're not doing enough. And that disappoints me. They'll talk to me off the record, behind the scenes. I've encouraged them to go public with their frustration, with their questions. They haven't done it yet. They got to speak out. I'm just one little voice in the wind. They got to speak out. They got to speak out of what has happened to their program and what continues to happen to their program. Different parts of the country, women's college basketball popularity has taken off. Not in H-Town. Not at the University of Houston. Rice women's basketball has had more success in the last 6 years than Houston women's basketball. That should be enough for me. If I'm them, that should be enough motivation and reason to move on right there. But I'm just one little voice in the wind. I don't have enough pull. I don't have enough sway. I don't have Tillman's ear. But I had Steve Maniaci's ear, apparently. Got a quote from him. About HCU. I contacted Chris Pezman earlier this week. Crickets. Crickets. Nothing from him. Nothing from the SWA. I'm told to go through the communications person for info regarding the women's basketball program. That's what I've been told. Yet, you get comment from an AD at another program, no problem talking to me. Rice men's basketball today, this morning, on my birthday. Shout out to Simone Biles, Billy Crystal, Steph Curry, Quincy Jones for March 14th birthdays. Rice Owls decided to part ways with Coach Scott Pera. AD Tommy McClelland said in a public press release, "I appreciate the efforts of Scott and his staff and the dedication to their student athletes. But over the course of this season, it became apparent to me that a change in the leadership of our men's basketball team was needed for it to become a championship caliber program. President DeRoche and the Board of Trustees have shown a great desire for this program to take its place among the best in the AAC and agreed with my assessment that a coaching change was the appropriate step towards reaching that goal." End quote. This is AD McClelland's, I believe, first year as AD. So it's not a surprise. New AD wants to bring in his own people, new head coach. Not a surprise. Coach Pera was in his 7th season. He was 7 seasons at Rice. Losing record, 96 and 127. 7 seasons, not 10, 7. Rex, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Big Dobbs as well. Thank you very much. Again, new AD at Rice. He saw, I love how he phrased this too. Over the course of this season, it became apparent to me that a change in the leadership of our men's basketball team was needed. I've asked Chris Pezman to simply make a statement, a public statement regarding Coach Ronald Hughey and his job status. Season ended March 7th. It is March 14th. Crickets. Crickets. Kyra Elzy at Kentucky was let go after 4 seasons. 4. Last 2 seasons were not very good. I wasn't surprised she was let go. I've known her for years. She's at Tennessee. Her record in those 4 years, 61 and 60. Rex, 32. You're good in math. Big Dobbs, you as well. 61 and 60. That's a winning record. 4 seasons. She's let go. She won an SEC conference championship. And Kentucky still moved on. 10 seasons here in Houston. 10 seasons, 0 trips to the NCAA tournament. That means 0 conference championships. And Ronald Hughey is still here. I don't blame Coach Hughey. Okay? Let me be clear. I don't blame Coach Hughey. He's not paying himself. He's not writing his checks. This is all the administration. That's who this is. This is all the administration. It's on them now. It's been on them for a while. Chris Pezman, hired December 2017. What has he been looking at since 2017 women's basketball? Or is he just giving it all to Dewana Chiser, the senior women's administrator? Again, Rice women's hoops made the NCAA tournament in 2018-2019 season under Tina Langley. Tina Langley moved on to Washington, replaced by Lindsay Edmonds. Lindsay Edmonds, in her third year at Rice, is going to the NCAA tournament. Rice women's basketball. 6 seasons, 5 seasons, 2 trips. Houston, 10 seasons, 0 trips. Houston, since 2010-11, that was the last time the Cougars made the NCAA tournament for women's basketball. 2010-11 season. But yes, back at it. The alums, players from those teams, I've talked to some of them. They acknowledge they need to speak out. They need to do more. They will do more. They haven't done it yet. They've allowed folks to run women's basketball at Houston into the toilet. Their level of expectations, the standards at Houston Cougars women's basketball, the bar is so low. It is just so low. High standards in Kentucky, need that here. 4 seasons. Kyra Elzy was let go after 4 seasons. And she had success at Kentucky. Make it make sense to me, people. Make it make sense to me. But yes, I'm waiting for confirmation because like I said, I got a message an hour ago now that Coach Hughey has 2 years after this season left on his deal. Not 1. I thought it was 1. Another person said he has 3 years left on his deal. Regardless, the buyout is not a lot if you care about women's basketball. It's not an excuse. It's what it is. Pezman only cares about football and men's basketball. I want to add that word in that important word, men's basketball. He doesn't care about women's basketball. He's trusting folks he shouldn't be trusting. That's part of it right there. I remember when he was talking to me face to face 3 or 4 years ago at a press conference. After a press conference, I told him about the lack of talent on the team. And he told me about the incoming transfers. And I said to him, Pez, they're not very good. Well, I was told, Pez, they're not very good. He was shocked. That's what we're dealing with. That's what I'm dealing with. But I won't be dealing with it much longer. I can spend more time at Rice. They win. They go to the NCAA tournament. I can cover the men's team at Houston. Hopefully get to a point where I can go on the road with them a few times. So until Houston women's basketball makes a change, I can move on. And there won't be any media at the home games. Local media, and it's not their fault. Let me be clear. It's not their fault. Local media does not spend time with Houston women's basketball. Why should they? There's no success. There's no postseason success there for them to care. So I'm going to just do what my colleagues do and ignore them until they make a change or until, happily, Ronald Hughey guides them to the NCAA tournament, whichever comes first. I think I can go through. We're not going to take a break. Oh, no, I mean, it's not imperative that I do it, but I want to do it as well. Remind everybody, you are watching the Houston Roundball Review TakeOver, powered by JM&E, streaming live on Roku. I'm happy to say and proud to say I'm part of the BS3 Network family. So as always, I want to give you guys a little hint of what BS3 BS3 TV is all about. Be back in 90 seconds.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Welcome back to the lunch break, powered by JM&E and also the BS3 Network. The lunch break is also on Thursdays, the Houston Roundball Review TAKEOVER. I am, of course, KG Chris Gardner, owner of the Houston Roundball Review. You're watching me on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Musk, X, Fire TV, and, of course, Roku via the BS3 Network, BS3 TV, changing the way you watch TV. If you have a Roku streaming device, just download BS3 TV. If you don't have it, just go to bs3network.com or bs3tvlive.com. C837, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Truly. I appreciate that support and your comments and spending time here on the Houston Roundball Review on YouTube. Joe Mendez, Joe as well. Thank you very much. Good to meet you. Saturday as well. It is really cool to see folks face to face and meet them in person, and they tell me and Andy how much they enjoy what we do, enjoy Let's Rage Cougs and the work we do. It is gratifying to hear those kind words from everyone and the support as well. Thank you. I've talked about the sorry state of Houston Cougars women's basketball enough. Going to talk about the NCAA men's tournament. Dr. Charles McClelland had a Zoom call Wednesday morning. I was a part of it. So was colleague Joseph Duarte. We was a local flavor. There's some national folks. I think one person was from, asked about the Longhorns, so maybe that's Austin. And then somebody was from maybe Kentucky, but a few national folks as well, maybe UConn sprinkled in. But Dr. McClelland discussed 2 points I'm going to bring up here in the slides. First, he commented on the benefit of playing a strong non-conference schedule. Quote, as we near the beginning of this year's selection meeting, because he was in Indianapolis at the headquarters getting ready for everything, I would like to speak on behalf of some of my colleagues on the committee to express our concern with evaluating teams that have not played a strong non-conference schedule this year. There has been much written and said about this topic. Therefore, we believe it is worth me commenting on this matter. First and foremost, as it pertains to the committee's objective this week in selecting, seeding, and bracketing the 36 best at-large teams, along with the 32 automatic qualifiers, we will use the publicly shared resources we have at our disposal to assist with the evaluation process. One of those resources is the non-conference strength of schedule. Here's the key. How each committee uses that data is a personal choice. It's important to note that we also will use the overall strength of schedule, which is inclusive of a team's entire body of work. Nevertheless, the non-conference strength of schedule is a resource that has been in place for decades. A long-term concern is that poor non-conference scheduling, including teams playing multiple games against non-Division I opponents, is not good for the health of college basketball, particularly the regular season. A good non-conference game not only offers a team the opportunity to enhance their resume, but also helps popularize the game in the early stages of the regular season. Teams that elect not to play a strong out-of-conference schedule make it difficult to evaluate them for an at-large berth to the tournament, particularly if they do not perform at a high level within their conference. This is a matter that the committee will certainly discuss this summer as part of its annual review. Later in the call, I asked Dr. McClelland, in your opinion, what can be done or would you like to be done for teams in power conferences to schedule tougher in non-conference? He answered, well, that's a decision based upon the individual schools. Again, we try to not look at it from a conference standpoint. Each individual institution has their own scheduling needs and their scheduling philosophies. Obviously, being in Houston and your covering of those teams and power conferences, as well as AQ conferences, automatic qualifier conferences, you know that each team, each coach has their different philosophy. Pause right there. Dr. McClelland and I go back a long way, so he knows who I am and knows where I'm from, Houston, and covering who I've covered. So that's why he referenced what he said there, okay? Some folks don't realize who I know, okay? Next, as a basketball committee, we want teams to play a competitive schedule. And if you play a competitive schedule, it gives us more data to be able to make the best decision. And I think that's ultimately what we're asking for. Also in the Zoom call, he wanted to address this. It's belief that the conference title games played on Sunday before the selection show are not factored into the selection committee's decision-making regarding the final bracket, seeds, etc. that is released to the NCAA's broadcast partners and the public. Quote, now I would like to address the false notion that because the selection show begins at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday on CBS, that games played on Sunday aren't factored into the selection, seeding, and bracketing process. I can say definitively that nothing could be further from the truth. We do not start the bracketing process before mid-morning Sunday, and we will come up with as many brackets as necessary to account for changes to the seed list that are based on outcomes of 5 championship games that take place. By mid-afternoon, 3 of those games will be finished, so we can start eliminating some of the brackets we've constructed, but a couple of those games conclude just before the start of the selection show. So we always must be very careful about which bracket gets submitted to our broadcast partners. All the conference tournament games matter, though like we've always said, they don't matter more than any other individual outcome. These games don't carry more weight than a game played last month, but they are not ignored due to timing either. End quote. Just putting it out there. I've said it a few times. I've been fortunate to participate in the NCAA's media mock selection exercises for both men's and women's basketball. One of only, as far as I know, 2 people in media ever to participate in both the men's and women's mock selections. Jerry Palm is the other. So things Dr. McClelland referenced, I've seen firsthand in those mock exercises. The net rankings for men's basketball, Big 12. Final minutes here of the show. 2 o'clock tip-off between Houston, number 1 team in the country, in the net, in the polls, etc. Houston ranked number 1. Iowa State 9. BYU 12. Baylor 14. Kansas, in their lack of depth, talented depth, 19. Texas 28. Tech 29. Cincinnati 34. TCU 41. Oklahoma 44. UCF 60. Kansas State 68. Oklahoma State 119. And West Virginia 156. Those bottom 2 programs. West Virginia had an interim head coach this year. They moved on from interim coach Josh Eilert. They begun a national search for a head coach. Today, Oklahoma State decided to part ways with Mike Boynton. 7 years. Buyout, I want to say the buyout right now before April 1st is like $7.7 million. April 1st be like $6.7 million. Yes, it's men's basketball. I know that. It's apples to oranges. But my point remains. If you care about women's basketball, Houston, Ronald Hughey's buyout is nowhere close to $7.7 million. Oklahoma State said, Mike, you're a good guy. 7 years. You haven't got it done. We're going to part ways. We're going to pay you to go away. Ronald Hughey, good guy, good man. Not the right person to lead Houston women's basketball in the Big 12, especially if the goal is to compete for championships and to get to the NCAA tournament. Make it make sense, Will. Make it make sense, Joe. Make it make sense, Wanda, Rex, CA37. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Recap real quick. First round results of the Big 12 men's championship. First round, UCF beat Oklahoma State. That was it for Mike Boynton. He was done. After that 15-point loss. Cincinnati won their first round game against West Virginia. Josh Eilert, done. Second round, BYU, I think they made 14 threes, a conference tournament record to beat UCF. Coach Dawkins might be done. We'll see about that at UCF. TCU, Cougs facing TCU shortly. They beat Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is still going to be in the tournament. I think. Horned Frogs won 77-70. Kansas State beat the Longhorns 78-74. Did y'all see on social media the hug Big 12 commissioner gave K-State head coach Jerome Tang after the game as Coach Tang was walking through the tunnel? I think Commissioner Yormark was glad to see the Longhorns lose in the Big 12 men's basketball because women did win the championship. And then last game of the evening on March 13th, 11th seed Cincinnati, 72, 6th seed Kansas, 52. No Kevin McCullough, no Hunter Dickinson. Jayhawks are just a shell of themselves. Today, quarterfinals. What's going on? Give me the score of the game between Texas Tech and BYU. Haven't kept up with it. I've been doing coaching moves. But 2 o'clock, 1 seed Houston versus 8 seed TCU. That game on ESPN. Then the second session of the day, 6 p.m., K-State 10 seed against 2 seed Iowa State on ESPN2. And then I don't believe it's been finalized yet. It hasn't as of this show. 3 seed Baylor versus 11 seed Cincinnati, 8:30 on ESPN or ESPN2. Heck, man, the Bearcats win that game. That might become the 10th Big 12 team to make tournament. 10. 10-man teams, 10. Women's teams, Big 12, I think 7 will be the number that get there from the Big 12. And basically, it is these rankings here. Let me pull it up. I think this is right. A 7 on the left side: Texas, Kansas State, Baylor, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Iowa State, Kansas. Those 7 will be going to the NCAA tournament. Thank you. It's not even close. Thank you very much for that. I tell you, I appreciate it. I'm assuming BYU is not making threes today against Texas Tech. They live by them, they die by them. Let me see. Yep. BYU is 4 for 19 from 3. That'll do it. 4 for 19 from 3. When they're not making them, they struggle. When you are making them, they do quite well. But even overall, BYU is just 10 for 37 from the floor. So 6 for 18 on 2s, 4 for 19 on 3s. And that's why they're down 48-30 to Texas Tech in quarterfinal game number 1 today in Kansas City. Be sure if you're there in Kansas City, take part of those Big 12 Eats, the school-focused menu items that are being offered there at T-Mobile Arena Center, whatever. But yeah, the Red Raiders are shooting 51.5%, 17 for 33 from the floor, and 7 for 12 from 3. Yep, that'll do it. But I want to go right back here. Prairie View women's team lost yesterday in the quarterfinals of the SWAC tournament to Jackson State. No shock there. J-State is the queen of SWAC women's basketball. Final score was J-State 67-58. Prairie View men's season ended last Saturday against TSU. I would not be surprised if Prairie View moves on from Byron Smith and looks for a head coach on men's side. But Jackson State women's basketball, Tamika Reed, head coach. Boy, if Houston was serious about women's basketball, I'd give her a call. But we're not serious about women's basketball, so keep doing what you're doing. Back to Rice. I got 2 names that have been mentioned to me for Rice men's basketball as next head coach. I'm kind of curious to see which direction Rice will go. I spoke to one of them directly. At the time, the job wasn't open, so he didn't want to give too many specifics and details about his interest or not. But both names that I've heard, I've known both of them for a long, long time. And both of them have ties to the Houston area. I'm not sure if Rice will go in this direction. I know A.D. McClelland will have a media gathering at 3 o'clock later today. But of course, I'll be in Cougar Horned Frog mode. So try to get someone over there representing the Houston Roundball Review, hopefully, to get comments from A.D. McClelland. These final minutes, the Houston Roundball Review will have a representative at the McDonald's All-America games taking place here in H-Town. These games are on the 2nd, I think, and the slam dunk and 3-pointer on the 1st. From Decaney High School, Spring, Texas, Delisa Chappell. She played ball there. She played ball at Wichita State. She will be representing the Houston Roundball Review at the Mickey D's All-America events. April 1st, in the evening, the 13th annual Guy V. Lewis Award will take place at East River 9. We will recognize the top 10 boys high school players in the greater Houston area and announce the winner of the 2024 Guy V. Lewis Award. 5 juniors, 5 seniors, some talented young men. Past winner, Jalen Lowe at Pitt. We've seen him help beat Duke. Year before that, from Crosby High School, Mr. P.Z. Haggerty, named AAC Freshman of the Year. This year, he was redshirt freshman after transferring from TCU to Tulsa. One of the top scoring freshmen in the country this season. and it's up for Freshman of the Year award, winner of the Guy V. Lewis Award. Got talent here in Houston on the boys' side. Got talent here in Houston on the girls' side. Got two young ladies who are McDonald's All-Americans from this area. Neither going to Houston. One's going to Florida, Shaq's daughter. I think one's going to Texas. Birthday plans, Rex, today? No, because I'll be doing Let's Rage Cougs and then Rockets later on, Rockets to Wizards. This weekend, yes. How long? Will knows. I hope a week. That's my hope, is a week or less. But someone probably will come, might be Kentucky, might come calling and get Coach Reed to take over that program. Probably won't be Houston, unfortunately, because, Chris Pezman, DeWanna Chizer, and President Couture don't even realize what's going on over there at Houston regarding women's basketball. But there we go. Again, want to acknowledge Rice South women's basketball team and the program for winning the AAC championship and punching their ticket to the big dance. Rice won Wednesday night over Rice as a 10 seed in the AAC championship, beat 9 seed East Carolina 61-41. So kudos to head coach Lindsay Edmonds in her third year, Will knows, her third year, Rex, her third year, CA37, her third year at Rice. First year in a new conference. And they're going to the big dance. Houston, led by the same man, same person, 10 years, and 0 trips to the big dance. Thank you as always. I am KG Chris Gardner of Houston Roundball Review. You have been watching and hopefully enjoying this edition of the Houston Roundball Review Takeover on the lunch break. Throwback Thursday, powered by JM&E. Streaming live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Fire TV, and Roku via the BS3 Network. Subscribe to this channel. Tell your friends about this show. Tell your friends about the Houston Roundball Review. Tell your friends about the Houston Roundball Review merch, like this mug, the caps, the hoodies, the tie-dye shirts. Click on those links, the shop button, if you're watching on the Houston Roundball Review on YouTube. Since 1994, the Houston Roundball Review. Local name, global perspective. Take care. Peace.
Today's newsletter. Number 4, a 15-year-old boy with autism was shot and killed by deputies in San Bernardino County after charging at them with a garden tool. The incident occurred March 9th during a domestic disturbance call. The tense moments, which lasted only about 7 seconds, were caught on the deputy's body camera. Number 5, federal officials often overlook female veterans' mental health needs, leaving gaps in available resources. More outreach and research are needed to encourage female veterans to seek care. Females make up 10% of the veterans population and are expected to grow over the next decade. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. A gentle approach to oneself is an act of self-love. All right. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with mental health and wellness contributor Aprilette Russell as we discuss today's top headlines and more. I'm Sybil Wilkes. Be informed, be empowered.